Is this thing on? Hi. Hello, Oisin.
Lovely to
Oh,
see
sorry,
you.
we're in Spain.
Right.
There we go. 2 kisses in Spain, right?
Local,
3 in Amsterdam.
local expert.
15 in Hungary. We'll get to Hungarian things in a second. So, good morning, everyone. How are we feeling? How are we feeling? Good. How are we feeling? Come on, Barcelona. We're in one of the greatest cities in the whole wide world, and it's beautiful weather. We're amongst smart, beautiful people. Front row, VIP. And we're here to talk about what's been happening in our worlds of immersive content, virtual reality, augmented reality, 360 spatial audio, things like that. And what's been happening here at 4 years from now is about the future, and it is about, you know, how do you get from A to B to C, and where will we go from here? So without further ado, I'd like to introduce, like an introduction of an introduction. We're like little Russian dolls, but we're not bots. At least we're not bots, right? So without further ado, I'd love to introduce Ignasi from Broomx. So please put your hands together. Round of applause, thank you. That could do a bit better than that, okay.
Well, thank you.
And David from Antiloop and Universe, thank you. Good morning. Jó reggelt. Does anyone else here speak Hungarian? Hands up. Just us. Okay. But then we could just swear at
I saw
everybody.
some Hungarians at the bar.
Oh, did you? Okay. Of course. All the Hungarians are always at the bar, so.
But we stick on the plan, no? It's English, no?
We're going to stick with the plan, folks,
Okay.
and stick with our English here. So welcome, guys. Welcome. Is this your first
morning.
4 years from now?
No.
Not from
No?
Italy.
Okay, so you've been here before with the same company?
Yep.
Okay, great. We're going to get into that in a quick second. So I thought we'd do like a little bit of a background on where we came from and kind of what got us here. What is the beginning for everyone? Ocean, thank you very much for that intro. My background is in broadcast journalism, and I came from the school of MTV when it was about music, and I've been living in London 20 years and launched the websites and red button things, everything interactive, immersive. We were doing live streaming way back when, dealing with all the regions around MTV that they were launching. Came to Barcelona many times. And during those years, it was a bit of beyond a dot-com boom. We were growing platforms, we were growing audiences. We were talking to people online that then went out to different platforms, whether that was transmissions or an app or things that were happening interactive and around the world. And back then we called it a community manager, believe it or not. You check a message board online, but then you do something with that. And that's all about where you'll be going with that. And then the last 10 years with my own company, we've been doing everything from working on The Voice with the BBC to 360, augmented reality, virtual reality, spatial audio, which we're going to loop back around, and we'll show a little bit of highlights too. So David, I'm staring you in the eyes. You're going to go first. Tell us about kind of your beginning, because with any startup and with the hundreds of people here in this room, we all started somewhere that gave us an idea to make something. So what was your beginning?
Okay. My story is kind of not the typical. For the first part, I'm a sociologist. Not very common. Well, it seems that it's common here in this panel, but it's not very common in the startup, in the technology scene. I studied sociology. I started working in international trade and marketing and tourism. And in Mobile World Congress back in 2015, I had the luck of meet these crazy guys doing immersive installations with several projectors, super interactive, super engaging. It was the very beginning of Broomx, 2014, 2015, and I was super, engaged. Wow, what is this? I want to know more. I want to be part. This project started in an interior design and creative studio here in Barcelona. They had the clever idea of mixing creative minds and technology people, and they start building these immersive, crazy installations for hotels, for museums, for events, etc. Then in 16, after doing some research, some projects, and some failures as well, we decided to do the lean startup and pass from these installations, services, bespoken for a particular space, moving to a product that is the MK360. You can see it here in the 4 years from now in the plaza. And it's a product to create these immersive environments, very easy, plug and play, and compatible with all these standards that we are going to talk about of VR and 360.
Awesome. And I know you've got a little video to show us, but let's rewind slightly. You
Okay.
studied sociology,
Yeah.
and you're now working in tech.
Yes.
What a great combination.
Don't ask me to code.
So are you
please,
walking
huh?
around these conferences analyzing every single thing and picking it apart? Wait, that's psychology. But hey, it's kind of
Yeah.
the same thing. What made your brain go, hey, this is the direction I want to go as an entrepreneur, as a businessman?
Well, it has been, an evolution. It's never, it's not one day decision. No, it has been
Yeah.
part of an evolution. When I was in sociology, I love to know how past technologies has changed our past, no, and why we are here now with our developments. So I was very curious about that, and was very curious what was going to come. Then I start engaging with all these guys from the Mobile World Congress. I had the opportunity to meet the startup scene. I moved to India. India is, we didn't spoke about that, but India is a great place for technology, a lot of programmers. So I was, entering into this world, and well, then I finalized here.
So it is connected.
It
We
is
are all
connected.
connected.
Absolutely.
Great. And David, hello.
Hi.
You're
Good morning.
We're just going to sit here and speak Hungarian in my broken. So tell us about your beginning. Where did it start for you? Because
Well-
I love your story, if you don't mind sharing it.
Yeah. My story actually is typical because I was a drop-off in a very early age. And I started to do flash banners, and it was fun. You could click it, and it moved, and it was shiny. But then I got bored a little bit. After that, we started to build interactive installations, such as measuring the brain waves of the Football Club Barcelona, the players.
It's a bit of biometrics, early
Yep.
biometrics.
Yeah. So they drove cars by the level of the attention.
Yeah.
Then we built other interactive installations. Then
Yeah.
the VR came into our lives like 6-8 years ago.
Okay.
And we were amazed. We were like, okay, we don't know what, but we want to do something with it because it's gonna change everything.
So you started off visual.
Yep.
Obviously, if you do find yourself leaving school, that's not always a bad thing because you found a creative outlet for that in your 3D and graphic design and things like that.
Yep.
So you came to Barcelona, you said about 12 years ago?
About 12 years
Yeah,
ago.
right.
Yep.
So you're finding yourself in this space surrounded by other visuals and creatives. And we all know in our immersive industries that it is a visual experience.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're listening to an audio-only experience or an augmented layers, it's still making your imagination create ideas and visuals. So what was your very first VR experience?
It was a basic one, I think, but I could see the potential in it. I
Right.
saw that it was the Oculus Rift one and the development
Okay.
kit, the first one.
Right.
It was a little bit like way heavier than the one we have now, and the resolution was quite low. It gave you some headache and motion sickness.
Seems like so long ago, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The Oculus One.
I think it was.
We're on
7
Oculus
years ago.
57 now, aren't we? 4 years ago, I think so. Great. I think let's talk about the now then. I think David, you were mentioning when your installations first started. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got your funding, a little bit of that?
Yeah.
The business side of thing,
It's
and,
it.
and then let's get into some creative.
Yeah, okay. This is a tough part. Huh? Well, at the beginning, as almost all of the startups, we start funding ourselves with our own resources, very limited. But with these first resources, we could launch the first prototypes. These prototypes was on the market. We had the first customers, so it was the way to refund ourselves. 2016, when we did this evolution from creating bespoke installations into a product, we had a small seed fund from a business angel, a local business angel who knew us, that we have worked with in the past. He believed in us, in our potential. We kind of let him come with us, le engañamos in Spanish, right? And it has helped us a lot. Being able to consolidate your team, to put all the efforts, all the people working in the same stuff, right? Not freelancing and doing projects, but working in a real plan.
You found people and you chained them to their desk until they created what you needed. So
That's
your
it.
angel investor actually lived up to that stereotype. He was an angel, or she. Was it a female?
No, I'm sorry,
Oh,
it was a he.
that's right. There are female investors out there, ladies and gentlemen. So we're all about promoting the equality in the investment space. Frank, hello. I know my video is going to go first, but I think let's show your video if that's okay. Is that okay to show Broomx? Frank? Yep, cool. Okay, thank you. Dankeschön. Dankeschön. This is a half-hour video, by the way. That's great. Round of applause for Broomx, guys. That's very cool. So the first projector, and we will give you there in the plaza, which is way in the corner. That's my Spanish accent. Is that okay?
Exactly.
So please, 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 guys, all these panels you're going to see, everything you're experiencing, make sure you get your hands dirty and go try it out, because it's just incredible. There's so much you could be doing with it. Part of something that we were catching up yesterday in what's happening now in immersive content with virtual reality, augmented reality, things like that, is the kind of the beauty of interactivity and community and that immersiveness when you are surrounded by other people, and that experience makes you feel like you're part of something. I was working on a project which I'm still a part of right now that I'm executing, that's mixing an immersive experience with augmented, and then we're building it into 3D spatial audio, and we're going to be working with the Bose frames soon coming up. Watch this space. And I wanted to bring a video to show you guys an example of immersive content that's used within the audio format. That combines a bit of location-based entertainment, right? Which will be a nice segue to David. Ignasi, I'm sorry I called you David. I'm just going to put it on public record. So I'm going to show you a video of a project that I'm working on right now that's we debuted it at the Future Storytelling Festival in New York City and got innovation and storytelling runner-up. But what's happening here is that we had Harry Shatta, who's a UK hip-hop artist, grime artist. He currently holds the Guinness Book of World Records for most words rapped in a song. He beat Eminem like 2 years ago. He created a concept album that we then made into location-based, multiplayer, multi-choice ending entertainment that you're able to become a character in this sequence. And we programmed up iBeacons and Unity, but we're going to be working with the European Space Agency, some satellites and things like that too. So I wanted to show you a quick example of some location-based entertainment that will then segue into David's, because you've got some exciting things to show too. So Frank, if we could roll VT, please, for Consequences Playlines. Thank you. And this is when you turn the music up, and I want to hear.
Hey, what's going on? It's good to see you. How you been? Harry Shotter's MCing in what, 20 minutes? Excuse me, mate, what room is the drum and bass?
Never mind that. You look like you're out your fucking face.
Nah, mate, just drinking. My mate here, he's sober.
Well, if I catch you with any drugs, it's game over.
Now let me tell you about yourself, you absolute waste man. Hold on, how you gonna lie to my mate? You're the same old Lucas from the estate. Hold on.
Yeah, sorry, lad, sorry. Yo, Ellie, come back. Wait, just let me talk to her,
As for you, player, I see you've made your decision. Goodbye.
Hey, man, what's happening? You don't look right. Talk to me, man. You still shook from the fight? Are you playing a joke? You want to talk of this spliff? That boy don't look right. Hey, come look at this.
Cool, thank you, Frank. So watch this space, and hopefully we can bring it to 4 years from now, next year. Who knows? Some location-based entertainment. Which brings me over to you, David.
Yep.
Let's talk about what you're working on now. You're also in the Plaza, but tell us a little bit more about what's this type of location-based multiplayer entertainment.
Yep. Basically, we are seeking how to blur the boundaries we have right now with VR, how we can create the most immersive experiences. We actually try out every new stuff we got hands on, like data glows, the newest headsets, the backpacks. And we found that if we remove the cables from the middle, and we give you freedom of movement, and we put you together with your mates in sharing the same physical space, it's when your mind really goes crazy. And it's when you really start to believe that you are somewhere else. And you actually start to question certain things. It brings up philosophical questions we can talk about later. And yeah, it helps a lot to project where it's going. How, for example, a teenager won't want to leave his home or her home because it gets so immersive at a certain point. So you can actually try it out. This is an experiment, how we can take you there.
Yeah, so you actually have a live demo, again, in the La Plaza, in the corner here. And I tried it yesterday, and I got to be Angela Merkel for 10 minutes. Kind of fun.
Also Michelle Obama.
And I was Michelle Obama, which was like super awesome. Cool. Let's show your video, please. So Frank, third VT, please. Dankeschön. Round of applause for Universe, guys. That was great. I think this is the beginning of these kind of location-based immersive experiences, because we know that like we're still working on the graphics, we're still working on the sound. Things are an experiment, and we are in a great, amazing time where, you know, I love using this phrase, and it's not my phrase, but please take it, tweet it, run with it. You know, jump, and the net will appear. Okay? And that's what this is all about. And that's why we're here at 4 years from now, especially. Just to keep trying new ways to make things, trying new ways to engage with people. Obviously, we know that the type of location-based, the experience that you've created can be used for more than just entertainment.
Yeah,
Can
sure.
be used for, you know, team bonding, military training, things like that. And you could be using actual graphics of real people, not just Michelle Obama.
Or I guess.
But I'm sure that was easy to clear the licensing. No, I'm joking. Kidding.
When
See,
you think about any kind of presentation, I guess
Yeah.
in 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, we will create the
Yeah.
presentations in VR. And
Yeah.
actually, well, entertainment is a kind of presenter. You present an entertainment content.
Yeah.
But when it comes to any product and 3D content you would like to present, it will happen in VR. So it's very much relevant, I think.
Yeah. So as far as like in our worlds of looking forward, we do learn from the past to make things better in the future. So what has been some challenges for you guys? Like open it up conversationally. So Ignasi, like what have you found like the biggest challenges in our industry as creators and business
I think
entrepreneurs?
I think we kind of stay keeping challenges all the time that we
Is that
have.
another panel?
Exactly.
Okay.
we
Give
need
me the
another
30-second version, my friend.
Okay, challenges. Well, when you start making new things, you have to educate the people. No, is what they say. No, educate customers, educate potential audience. This is what we have tried to do all the time. No, when people thought about VR since 2015, 2016, everything is with headsets. Can be super engaging, super interactive. This personally I like it, but we realize that there is a big part of population who probably will not be very comfortable. There are scientific studies that say that 20-25% of population gets dizzy in the first minute of wearing the headsets. So we reinvented the way to enjoy this content, because the content is amazing. There are creative people working in these new storytelling methods, which are, I mean, people get freaked out. It's amazing. I mean, from sports to music, live concerts, movies. We can, and we will see more and more immersive content coming to the market. And well, our main challenge was make people understand that a part of the headsets, there could be another possibilities. And these possibilities is not only for a museum or for a place that you go once in a lifetime or once a year, but it's something that you can have, not now, but maybe in 2-3 years in your home.
Right. So the biggest challenge for you, just to recap, is letting the general public understand that VR and immersive content is beyond the headset.
Exactly.
Maybe that should have been the name of the panel. Virtuality, beyond the headset. But it's such a good point, because a lot of people do just think, you know, we are in a bubble at the moment because we're interested in it and we're studying it, we're creating. But outside, if you walk down the street, a lot of conferences, I actually do this. I kind of stop 5 people saying, have you tried VR? I haven't done in Barcelona yet, maybe next time. But, and you know, have they heard of it? Like 4 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
Did you try it? No. Well, I'm not a gamer. Why would I try that? So it was important, like when we were first creating VR for the BBC, you know, we were purposely thinking of what I called the mom test, okay? You create it, you give your mom an iPad or auntie or somebody else, not of your generation. Can they figure out what to do with it? And if it passed the test?
I have a recent story, because 2 days ago my mother came to Barcelona and I put the backpack on her and she asked me...
You gave it the mom test?
Yeah.
Right.
And she asked me, will I fly away now? Is it a jetpack or what?
That would be funny if that happened to your mom. She rocks up to a conference. David, what happened to your mom? Oh, she's on a jetpack somewhere.
And it's funny because actually I collect the headsets because I think we will have a laugh about it. I mean, in 10 years, 20 years, seeing all those goggles, that's so funny and ridiculous in the same time.
Just like we can laugh at flash banners now in a little bit of a way. What was your mother's reaction when she did this?
didn't actually believe it, that it's happening to her. So she just stopped. And
Was she Michelle Obama too?
Yep, she was scared to move. And I told her, Mama, you can move. Okay. And she started to move slowly. But it
Right.
was fun. Yeah.
So she might not be the core audience for you,
Nope.
but it's interesting that you got that feedback. Because
It's
then
very
it's
much
still
interesting.
breaking boundaries for people that are still unsure about what it's all about or what's happening with it. We did also, yesterday when we caught up, we were having a chat about, again, moving forward with our technology. Part of that as creators, you know, with being the creator comes a responsibility. And we did kind of touch on some ethical things and, you know, how do we make sure what we are creating is safe, is ethical, or maybe you don't want to go down that ethical route. And we touched on, like, you know, in our immersive space, again, you know, I know the name of this panel is VR, but we're covering kind of multi-formats here. We're able to know that multi-sectors are using this type of content, entertainment, medical, educational purposes, you know, again, out-of-home, V-arcades, things like that.
Porn.
And one topic got brought up is porn, unfortunately. So of an ethical responsibility, we know that this is like blowing us out of the water. Oh, sorry, that was a bad pun. But, you know, sorry, that was weird. Sorry, everybody. It's like making so much money, and then here's like ethical producers making things that are good for you or educational, things like that, struggling to get cash. So
Yeah.
where do you draw the line, and like what do you do with it? Like, because you know people will be able to access this, right?
I think this is common with technology, no? Is this recurrent question of technology is good, technology is bad? Well, depends, no? Depends who it uses and depends of the purposes. For example, technology can have, and VR, immersive content, a lot of good influence. There is one very interesting research group in the Stanford University, in the Virtual Human Interaction Lab, led by Jeremy Bailenson. They are doing amazing stuff with VR, making people aware of super important challenges of our society. Talking about climate change, I'm talking about empowerment of women, talking about poverty, and they are using VR. Is VR only gaming? No, come on. It can be for a very good reasons. Can be also for a very bad reasons, depending on how you use. I'm sure that the bad, if you if you go in the deep web, you will find also a lot of black VR stuff.
Maybe that's another panel for next year too.
Exactly.
The bad things that happen, you know. But
Yeah.
bad things will happen till the end of time, right? So I mean, but again, as a good person,
Yeah.
it's also, you know, to make sure you're also protecting your software and your hardware.
And it's so important, right, that it didn't exist when we were young or when we were born. So actually we have to come up with the rules, what kind of rules we put there. And it's scary. It's quite scary sometimes, especially when we hear those sentences from our testers saying that I don't want to get out of here. I mean, I prefer to be here because it's amazing, it's a beautiful French home, and I don't want to be in your shitty warehouse where I really am. So when we hear those things, we start to think that, okay, now it's happening on a joke level, but it's gonna be happening like in a serious level, and that's scary.
Yeah, so we've got to think about these things, guys, and I'm you know, it's interesting just to see a show of hands, or maybe we'll have a beer later. Come find us in the plaza doing our experiences.
Yeah.
You know, you do have to think about, will somebody actually be trapped in this like Ready Player One type of environment, and could we use that to our advantage, and maybe keep that person there to prevent them from hurting a real life person?
I mean, sometimes
knows?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Sometimes I start to think about, okay, when I was a teenager, we went to the park, we played football, etc. But imagine being a teenager in a time where you can become a superhero in a virtual space, having any kind of avatar, moving or flying as you wish. And imagine that you are shy. You are shy of human interactions. I mean, as a mother or a father or parent, what kind of education can you give to avoid that spending your whole life within virtual reality?
So maybe that's where, as a parent, if any parents out there, you can work with some software developers to integrate some calculus equations into Fortnite or something quite interesting. Get Marshmallow to do some type of Shakespeare in the middle of it. No? Who's with me? Did anyone see Fortnite do the live concert? Is it really just me? Really? Okay. Am I that geeky, Ocean? Really? Okay, fair enough. Thanks, guys. That's a compliment. But that's, it's that integration is the way things are going. But at the same time, as humans, we still have power over the machine, And I know AI scientists that are integrating that tech for good, But it's about making sure if you do see something bad happening, or maybe it is used for therapy, because we've seen immersive content be very, very successful in the medical industry and therapies and psychology and dementia practices and things like that. So
I would like to join Ignasi with that thought that we built an experiment with some neuroscientists, and they asked us to develop a software which is able to change how you move in space, which is also only possible in VR. So we built an application where when you walk away from a center point, your steps are become bigger and bigger and bigger. And what they wanted to measure, how it affects your sense of time. And they wanted to find some relation between space and time this way, which is only possible in VR.
Bit of physics as well there, guys. So I think our next couple thoughts, we've already that is 4 years from now. I wanted to keep repeating where we are today, because a lot of people, we talk about these things on panels and we think maybe too far ahead. But I love the theme of the 4 years from now. It's 1 year less than 5 years, so it's a bit less pressure, right? In my opinion. But it's where are you going to be in 5 years' time? Hey, I'll give you 4 years. How's that? So I think the things we've been talking about can be achieved in 4 years. But what about 14 years?
Well,
if my math's correct, the year 2044. 14 years from now, what do you?
Maybe we won't have projectors, neither goggles. We will have something else.
Yeah, I think it will be an integration.
Come up with something.
In
and
some
I can
way,
make your spatial audio. I see a beautiful friendship happening here, folks. And what about 40 years?
That's scary when it comes to VR.
What scares you the most, David?
Maybe how we can separate the body from the consciousness. That's an interesting, in that time scale for sure. It's gonna be a big question. And what makes us humans? Living in VR for sure is a big topic. And we talked about porn, and let's talk about sex. Let's talk about porn. Yeah,
let's talk about sex, baby.
Let's go back to that example, because I like that very much. A shy teenager.
It exists. It happens.
I was a shy teenager, so I can identify myself very much with it. Imagine that I'm scared to approach a girl, and you can do it in VR. I mean, you can approach any girl, in any way, without having any fear of being rejected, right? And how you handle that? I mean, porn right now is a problem. It's a problem for teenagers. Imagine the same porn in an interactive way and in VR, so immersive that you can confuse it with the reality.
Right.
And our children will face it. So,
So in 40 years' time,
I think
it might be too late. But, but those are things to think about in the next couple years. That's a now issue. Because there is a major, major problem with this content. I mean, almost worse than actual industry itself. Because it's leading people to do bad things in real world.
Are we talking about too much scary things? We should talk about Disney too.
Bring it on. And I think
Princess Tales.
Tech is scary. Our minds are scary. But it's, again, that loops back around to what is happening with this vision of the future? Where can we go to make sure that everyone in this room that is thinking about creating or investing or talking to the person next to you to make sure that is that going down the right direction? And if it doesn't, then keep trying to make sure that, it is aiming to do something that's worthwhile, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, this story has to be written yet. I mean, but what is clear, and we have seen in the past, for example, with social media, that the human interactions, the social interactions, is changing a lot. I remember when I was a kid, if I wanted to connect with my friends, I'm from a small town outside of Barcelona. if I wanted to connect with my friends in Barcelona, or I had to write a postcard that it took 3 days to arrive, or having a call, making sure that he was at home, it was just 20 years ago. What happened 5 years ago or 10 years ago with Facebook and social media? Everything was instantly. You could connect with anybody all over the world, but just writing on your PC or now in your smartphone, sending a selfie of yourself. Now we are moving into these more immersive connections. No? It started with Second Life. Now is this social VR, no? That Facebook is trying to bring to everybody's home.
And alt space as well, things like that.
Yeah. So what's going to be? I can't imagine what's going to be in 2 years, or I don't know.
But that's the
40
exciting
years.
part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm super
to try to
excited to be
thinking about it.
in this moment of the history.
So why don't we meet every 4 years, guys? Everyone in this room. No one else is invited. This is the VIP crowd, okay? Who's with me? Okay, 3 of us. Yeah, screw the rest of you. So, no, I'm joking. I think that's good. This kind of opens up. We have so much to talk about. And I really love what you guys are doing. And it's really important that everybody goes to the plaza and checks out what you're doing. Because I know that it's beginning. I know we're all in a clunky phase now. I feel like we're all kind of clunky and not sure what to do. But there are applications and tech going in the right direction. And I'm very happy to be talking to 2 very fine examples here. But I think that opens up a little bit of chat to the audience. If everyone's... Does anyone want to have a talk with us and question? Hello. VIP in the front row.
Hi. Sure, yeah. I'm Karen Jones, and I have a media company in fintech. One of the things I thought about the porn chat is, isn't it better to have immersive porn than have real porn where women are in the sex industry, in my head?
A lot of that VR porn are real people, though. That's the unfortunate situation. The virtual elements of it, these things are happening now. I went to a really great session. A woman, I'm going to remember her name. I'll tweet it out. But she wrote a book. I think she's a doctor in AI, and wrote a book about people interacting with immersive porn with robots. So they have like we could chat. It's kind of weird. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, it's a big question. That if you let people doing like, let's say, bad things in VR, which actually is not happening in real life, is that good? I mean, let's take as an example.
I would say no.
Yep. Let's take as an example video games, right? It's happening there. You can kill anyone. You can do anything to anyone there, and you have to understand that it's not real. The problem starts when you get addicted to that. And when it's VR, for example, there is no limit. No one puts a limit there. You can spend there 1 hour beating a woman. I mean, that's so strong for your mind. It literally fucks you up a little bit.
I hope that was some insight into random thoughts about. Yeah. Hello. Hi. What's your name? Where you come from?
Juan Jose from Guatemala here, and I work in the education industry for little children. And I tried the technology yesterday, and I was mind blown with one of my friends. We were laughing and screaming in there. And I was wondering, what are the applications? Maybe we can open up the topic to educational applications for children on the side of what success cases have you seen? And a little bit on the ethical side, should kids be learning with technology, or should be playing in the park, football and in the grass, like we usually say?
Yeah, I'll let you kick off, but I have a couple good examples of education for tech.
Yep, the cases I saw mostly are about making you sensible about some issue. For example, we came up with a concept for diabetes. When you don't really understand how diabetes can make damage in your body, because it happens day by day, very slowly. But if you visualize how your body will be in 10 years, and you can have a chat with yourself in 10 years, like bringing you from the future to you, this way you can understand how it makes damage. But mostly the cases are about making you sensible about a case, about a cause, sorry.
So, yeah, I think also kids nowadays get more and more engaged with digital technologies, social platforms, digital signage, all this kind of stuff is the ones that, from our childhood, where everything in education in the school was books. Right now they have moved to another forms of interaction and learning, right? VR and immersive content in general, I'm sure it's a good way because of the impact it generates, because of the engaging. It's not the same explaining yourself how was the Roman city in Tarraco or bringing you in the real virtual Roman city and letting you walk in and discover by yourself how it was, no? And what was the life about. I think VR has a lot to do. In our case, with our projection system, we had very successful cases. For example, we are working with the UCLA University, and that's the purpose. And it's not for kids, it's for university students. I think the impact it generates for brain, it's very clear, and there is a lot to do. There is a lot of developments to do, but we can benefit quite a lot.
Yeah, and to answer your question, I can contribute a couple of those. I've seen some really, really, really amazing augmented reality apps that are for education, for learning, like learning to read. You're holding up the iPad and there's a visual in front of you and the character pops out, comes to life. For learning difficulties, dyslexia, things like that, and also for the visually impaired and hearing impaired. So I've seen, and also language learning, I've seen quite a lot. Can you tell I do conferences? Can you tell I do these kind of things? But I'm happy to throw you a couple names and some studios and things of doing that kind of stuff. To your point about should kids be playing with so much tech, I think we live in a day and age where, again, that's the responsibility coming to the human as a parent of how much that is, and you know, you try to moderate as best you can. I think it's important that our basic skills learning, but maybe not relying on it so that they can understand how cool a book is, or going to a film or a cinema. And it's important to keep playing football and sport.
Yeah.
So, cool. I think we had a question back here.
Can I go ahead? Okay.
Hello.
Hello. This is Edgar Fon, an MBA student. I think we've been talking already a bit about it, like the good things that VR can bring us, like it can be really powerful for education, for example, but we've been also highlighting the dark side of it, right? So how do you think legislation can try to, let's say, block a bit the dark side and empower, well, all these like education, all these fields where the VR really can bring something ahead? Because when I think about it, I think the only way would be going through like medical studies of every user, and that's really difficult to do, I believe. So how do you see legislation?
So the issue is like thoughts about how policy and government and regulation and legislation can make an impact on some of this. My personal kind of future-gazing forecasting is, you know, you're starting at the beginning with the softwares and the developers, and perhaps implement some policy on the code and what you're making. Just the way that a criminal or a baddie will have some type of microchip or ID in them. You'll be implementing some cyborgness to them and biometrics. So perhaps they put on a headset and they'll be able, the software will be able to recognize a retina scan that that's a criminal. And I've seen some prototypes of this, so it's, you know, and again, using the brain waves and biometrics. Do you have a quick last thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'm thinking sometimes about the same thing, and I ask myself, did we need a regulation for a television? Because it's just the hardware. We needed regulation for the content, right? Because
right.
you can't broadcast any content at 6 p.m., for example. But for the hardware, we don't have any regulation. You can watch TV as long as you want. I'm asking, will it be the same with VR? Yeah. Can you wear the goggles as long as you want?
And there's a company called Dot Everyone, and it's founded by Martha Lane Fox, who I don't know if she's here today, but she founded lastminute.com, and it's all about ethical tech and what to be doing with it. It's worth checking out. I'm just plugging. One last thought before we wrap up.
About regulation, well, I've nothing much to say, but always regulation comes after, right? First it happens, technology changes, no? There is a lot of examples. For example, Uber and Cabify, no? First, technology happens, makes a change, and then lawyers, no, and on the stage, right? Governments try to catch up, right?
Yeah.
So.
And as creators, we've got a head start on everyone because we are the all-knowing power of what's happening next and creating. So without further ado, I'd like to thank Ignasi and David. My name is Muki. Thank you so much. You guys have been an amazing audience. And back to Ocean. Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Big round of applause. Oh, good to see you.